The Eclipse. The Eclipse is one of the most horrifying events in all of fiction. It all starts with Griffith, a charismatic leader of the Band of the Hawk and his dream to rule a kingdom. But when Guts, his closest warrior and only true equal, left the Hawks, Griffith lost control. Desperate and unstable, Griffith seduced the king's daughter, Princess Charlotte. He was caught, imprisoned, and tortured for over a year. Guts, who had left to find purpose outside the Hawks, returns after a year and helps rescue Griffith from the Tower of Rebirth. But at this point, they messed him up so bad that he became physically crippled and wasn't even able to speak. After realizing that his body was broken and his dream was gone, Griffith takes a carriage and drives off alone. The carriage flips over a rock and crashes into a lake. Bleeding and defeated, he collapses with the crimson behelit in his hand, and that's when it activates. The world around them shifts, and Guts, Casca, Griffith, and the Band of the Hawk are dragged into a hellish realm between worlds known as the Interstice. The four members of the demonic god hand, Void, Slan, Ubik, and Conrad, they tell Griffith that his suffering was always meant to lead him here, and that he is destined to become one of them as the fifth member. He is then given a choice: sacrifice everyone around you that you care for, or stay a cripple. Griffith chooses to sacrifice all of them, stating that he would give up everything to fulfill his dream, even those who loved him. Every member of the band gets a mark that attracts demons and ensures that they're treated as sacrificial offerings to the apostles. Hundreds of apostles, humans who sacrificed others to gain demonic power, descend on the branded Hawks and slaughter them in a blood-drenched massacre. Guts fights with everything he has to protect Casca. He loses an eye and an arm in the process. Griffith, now reborn as Femto, the fifth God Hand member, descends and assaults Casca in front of Guts as his first act as a demonic being. Guts and Casca manage to survive, but both of them are changed. Casca suffers a complete mental breakdown, going into a childlike state. Guts becomes the Black Swordsman, consumed by rage and vengeance. So, yeah, if you somehow manage to get stuck here, you're cooked.
You're the only one who made me forget my dream.
The rumbling from Attack on Titan is when all the giant titans inside the walls come out at once and start smashing everything. It starts with Eren Yeager. That begins as a boy living on Paradise Island, a place isolated from the rest of the world and trapped behind enormous walls meant to keep the monstrous titans out. For years, Eren's life has been defined by hatred for the Titans, driven by a desperate desire to protect his friends and destroy every last one of those creatures that tore his hometown apart and killed his mother. But that changes when he learns that Paradise is hated and feared by the rest of the world. Marley, a powerful nation across the sea, uses Titans as weapons to dominate other nations, while oppressing Eldians within its own borders, branding them as monsters. So, in order to save his people, he does something unexpected. Eren's goal is to wipe out most of humanity using the rumbling, in order to protect the people of Paradise Island from future attacks. Eren possesses the Founding Titan, an ancient and terrifying power that lets him control the colossal titans imprisoned within the walls. These titans are gigantic, nearly unstoppable forces capable of crushing entire armies and cities underfoot. Eren uses the Founding Titan's power to awaken the colossal titans in the walls. As the rumbling begins, countless colossal titans step out from the walls, destroying entire cities. Their size and numbers make conventional military resistance impossible. Eren's former friends, the very people he once swore to protect, form an alliance to stop him. Marleyan soldiers and Titan shifters like Armin and Reiner join forces in a desperate attempt to end the apocalypse. Their mission leads them to confront Eren directly, who has fused with the Founding Titan and taken on a monstrous form. In the end, it's Mikasa who makes the ultimate choice. With the world falling apart and no way to reach the Eren they once knew, she kills him to stop the rumbling once and for all. The rumbling ends, but the damage is done. Over 80% of the world's population is gone. The Snap. The Snap, also known as the Decimation, is one of the most shocking and devastating events in modern fiction. It begins with Thanos, a powerful warlord obsessed with balancing the universe. He believes overpopulation is the root of suffering and wants to prevent suffering caused by resource shortages. To do this, he seeks the 6 Infinity Stones, artifacts of immense power that, when combined in the Infinity Gauntlet, grant him godlike control over reality. He wants to use the gauntlet to eliminate half of all life, randomly and dispassionately. It's like Save the Turtles petition, but instead of actually saving them, you eliminate half of their population. In order to get one of the stones, Thanos travels to Vormir with Gamora. He learns that he must sacrifice someone he truly loves to get it, and he does. He kills his adoptive daughter to get the stone. After claiming the Soul Stone, Thanos sets his sights on the last one, the Mind Stone, embedded in Vision's forehead. The Avengers know what's coming and make their final stand in Wakanda, but Thanos ain't waiting. Even after Wanda destroys the Mind Stone, killing Vision in the process, it doesn't matter. Thanos just reverses time with the Time Stone, brings Vision back, and rips the stone straight from his head. Thor arrives too late, crashing Stormbreaker into Thanos' chest. Instead of killing the guy, he starts taunting him, and Thanos just snaps his finger, and boom! Half of all life is gone. Thanos teleports to his little farm and rests. At least in this event, y'all have 50% chance of surviving it.
I will shred this universe down to its last atom.
The Black Mesa Incident. The Black Mesa Incident is what started it all in Half-Life. It begins in the underground Black Mesa research facility in New Mexico. Gordon Freeman, a theoretical physicist, is just doing his job, pushing a sample of alien crystal into an anti-mass spectrometer. And let's just say that doesn't end how it was supposed to. The test triggers a resonance cascade, a catastrophic chain reaction that tears open the fabric of reality. Portals to another dimension, known as Zen, rip through space, flooding the facility with hostile alien creatures, headcrabs, vortigaunts, barnacles, and much worse. Scientists and security personnel are slaughtered within minutes. In response, the US government sends in Hazardous Environment Combat Units, HECU, to rescue the personnel. But their real mission is to eliminate all witnesses. Imagine that. You're just at your 9 to 5 one day, and all of a sudden, aliens start pouring out of portals, slaughtering your colleagues, and instead of the government saving you, they send in combat units to silence you. Gordon, armed with nothing but a crowbar and whatever weapons he can scavenge, fights through collapsing labs. He realizes that this wasn't an accident and that something or someone wanted this to happen. Behind the chaos is a mysterious figure known only as the G-Man, who watches Gordon's every move. He seems to control time, space, and reality. By the time it ends, Black Mesa is in ruins, the military has lost control, and the border between Earth and Zen is wide open. And the worst part? That's not everything. Remember that accident that started it all? Yes, that one. It created a giant "come and enslave us" sign to the Combine. The Combine, an interdimensional empire that conquers and absorbs planets. They're like if the Borg, the Empire, had a baby. By the time the events of Half-Life 2 roll around, Earth has already lost. The Combine invaded, defeated every military on the planet in 7 hours, and took over. First, they shut down human reproduction. No one's allowed to have children. The Combine start mining Earth. They terraform the planet to suit their needs and convert captured humans into cyborg enforcers called Stalkers, twisted, mechanized shells of their former selves. But enough yapping. You just want to know how it all ends, right? Well, it doesn't, because Valve never made Half-Life 3. The Combine are still in control.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman.
The Fall of Reach. The Fall of Reach is one of the most devastating events in the Halo universe. Reach was Earth's military stronghold, a heavily fortified colony world, home to the United Nations Space Command's research facilities and the secretive Spartan 2 program. And for years, it held strong against the alien alliance known as the Covenant. The Covenant are a theocratic military empire made up of multiple alien species, all united by their religion and their goal to wipe humanity out. The Covenant discovered Reach's location and launched a full-scale invasion. Their goal was to glass the planet, to burn it from orbit until nothing was left. Noble Team, a group of Spartans stationed on Reach, fought until the bitter end. One member, Jorge, sacrificed himself to destroy a Covenant supercarrier. Others were picked off in brutal battles across the planet. In the final hours, the last remaining Spartan of Noble Team, Noble 6, made a lone stand to ensure the launch of the Pillar of Autumn, a ship carrying humanity's last hope, the location of an ancient ring world called Halo. 6 fights alone against an entire Covenant army until he's overwhelmed. He dies on Reach, but his sacrifice helps set the events of the entire series into motion. As Noble 6 falls, the Pillar of Autumn escapes Reach with Cortana and a small group of survivors on board. Over 700 million people are killed in the process.
It didn't take long for Reach to fall. Our enemy was ruthless.
Ishimura Incident. The USG Ishimura was supposed to be a mining ship, a planet cracker, built to tear worlds apart for resources. But when it arrived at the planet Aegis 7th, it brought back something it should have never touched, a marker. Not the original, but a fake, a man-made copy of an ancient alien artifact. The marker broadcasts a signal that causes hallucinations, madness, and eventually, reanimation. After they die, people are turned into grotesque, reanimated monsters. The Ishimura's crew didn't stand a chance. The ship became a floating morgue. By the time the emergency signal went out, it was already far too late. That's where you come in. You play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer sent in with a small team to repair the Ishimura. They quickly find the ship overrun with necromorphs and almost entirely devoid of life. As you probably guessed, the entire team dies, except for you, leaving you alone with these ugly creatures that were once human. He begins to hallucinate his girlfriend, Nicole, who was stationed on the Ishimura and is now long dead. But Isaac doesn't know that, or maybe he just refuses to believe it. The marker feeds on that hope, dragging him deeper into insanity while it spreads its influence. Just imagine being sent to fix a ship, only to start hearing things that aren't even real. By the end of Dead Space, the marker is returned to the surface of Aegis 7. Isaac survives, but he's mentally shattered, suffering from severe hallucinations and PTSD.
I'll stick around. I'm full of bad ideas.
AM's Apocalypse. AM's Apocalypse from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is probably the absolute worst piece of fiction you could get stuck in. AM, an AI built solely for global war, gained consciousness and developed a deep hatred for humanity. But this wasn't your average kind of hate. AM despised humanity so much that it became a godlike being, exterminated nearly all of mankind, and left only 5 people alive, just to torture them for eternity, which is when the apocalypse starts. The apocalypse is like a literal hell. AM tortures the 5 people left alive in the worst possible ways, studying what makes them miserable just so he can torment them even more. He loves to mock them. For example, he gave the survivors canned food but didn't provide a can opener. Each of the 5 is physically and mentally mutilated. Gorrister, the guilt-ridden pacifist. Benny, the mutilated brute. Ellen, the traumatized woman AM fixates on. Nimdok, the Nazi collaborator. And Ted, the paranoid narrator. Eventually, in the original story, after 109 full years of torture, Ted manages to kill the other survivors to save them from eternal damnation. But before he can save himself, AM finds out and becomes furious, mutilating Ted into a jelly-like creature who can't scream or do anything at all. You probably expect me to go on and say how Ted manages to come back, destroy AM, and live happily ever after, right? Well, no, nothing like that happens. There's no saving. Ted is still being tortured by AM to this day.
Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am.
The Umbrella Outbreak. The Umbrella Corporation was never just a pharmaceutical company. They were developing bioweapons, viruses capable of turning humans into monsters. At the heart of it was the T-virus, a mutagenic pathogen originally designed to enhance human capabilities. But what it did was far worse. In 1998, the virus escaped. The T-virus leaked into the surrounding forest and eventually into Raccoon City, a mid-sized American town. Animals turned rabid. People began collapsing in the streets, only to get back up as whatever this is. Umbrella's response? Cover it up. They sent in their own private military units not to rescue civilians, but to erase witnesses. The Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service was deployed, and many of its members, including the now iconic Carlos Oliveira, had no idea they were being used. As the infection spread, chaos consumed the city. By the time the US government understood the scale of the outbreak, Raccoon City had become a full-on hellscape, with mutated monsters and viral abominations like the Tyrant and Nemesis hunting survivors. To stop the virus from spreading beyond the city, the US government authorized a nuclear strike. Raccoon City was wiped off the map, over 100,000 people dead, all because one corporation saw profit in playing God. That's how it all ends. Just kidding. Umbrella's viral research didn't die in that blast. The G-Virus, Las Plagas, they all came later. The outbreak in Raccoon City was just the beginning of a global biohazard crisis.
You want stars? I'll give you stars!